You want to put it right there?
Let's put it here and she can come up to it. Well, no, we'll just take our mics and drop them down.
I'm waiting on a couple more people. We'll get started pretty soon.
All right, cool. This will work right there. Once you still keep it.
We'll just put the mics up on there.
There we go. At least I know mine.
Support. You're not getting over here? Oh, you gonna do this? Oh, okay. Yo, come on up, come on in here. Fill in. I want the camera to get as many of us as possible. Yeah, you can roll all the way up to here. Yeah, so. Yeah, come on in here. Y'all think this is everybody? Yeah. Anybody expecting anybody else? No, we're not expecting anybody else. All right. I think I still can say good morning. Let me know when y'all ready. Okay. Good morning. I want to welcome everybody here, especially all citizens from South Carolina that came out to speak today. And definitely want to thank the media for showing up. In this important day in the history of South Carolina and our nation, it's a dark day for our democracy. It's a situation where we got people in our democracy that's trying to set us back. Like Abe Lincoln said 150 years ago plus, that a nation divided will not stand and cannot stand. So we want to come here making sure we understand unity, understand the diversity of our communities, and we want to make sure not on July 3rd, 2025, that we start losing our democracy. We have a lot of guests here today that's going to be talking about different aspects of this bill and talk about how it's going to impact communities as time go forward. But on this dark day in the United States of America, we want to talk to you all about our democracy. And Angel, will you follow me? I think somebody's got to move the speakers.
Do I need to introduce myself?
Yeah, Yeah, you can just say your name. There, sir.
Your mic fell. All right, there we go. Hi, my name is Angel Heaven Lee. I'm here today not just as an advocate, but as someone who knows exactly what it's like to fight every single day just to keep health care, stay housed, and put food on the table. This so-called big, beautiful bill is nothing but a betrayal. It doesn't expand Medicaid, which is something that South Carolina desperately needs. It doesn't fix SSI and SSDI programs that are so outdated that people literally cannot live on the amounts that they provide. Instead, this bill guts Medicaid, slashes food assistance, and makes it even easier for millions to lose the little security that they have left. At a time when families, disabled people, and seniors are already hanging on by a thread, they're actively pushing us backward into deeper poverty, worse health care, and forced dependence. This bill won't make America great again. It'll shrink our gross domestic product by 3%, kill nearly 2 million jobs in healthcare, energy, and food sectors, and leave us all poorer. A 3% drop in GDP equals roughly $840 billion, nearly $1 trillion in lost economic output. A smaller GDP means less tax revenue flowing into local, state, and federal budgets. That means more cuts to schools, public hospitals, disability services, infrastructure, and all the things that people rely on. This isn't a short recession dip. It means the economy stays permanently smaller than it could have been, looking less prosperity for future generations. The Congressional Budget Office projects it would also add around $3.3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years and result in nearly 12 million more uninsured Americans. When politicians are saying only 3% smaller GDP by 2054, they're downplaying it. In reality, it means a weaker economy forever, fewer jobs, lower pay, less funding for critical services, and more financial strain on working families. This is about greed. It's about putting billions over basic human decency. And if our lawmakers can sleep at night knowing that they're literally trading our health and our homes and our lives for corporate profit, then shame on them. We see exactly what they're doing, and we won't be quiet. We will fight for a country where all of us can thrive, not just the wealthy few. Republicans are pushing to pass this right before the July 4th break for a reason, because the longer this sits out in the open, the more people find out what's actually inside it. They know that if they have people have the time to see the brutal Medicaid cuts, the SNAP gutting, the permanent handouts to billionaires, and the way it balloons the debt by $3.3 trillion, opposition will explode. They also know that lawmakers go back to their districts over recess, meaning angry voters show up at town halls, at grocery stores, and at churches. The July 4th break would give us regular people too much time to get organized and say, hell no. They hope that you're too busy buying your fireworks to notice that they're lighting your health care on fire. History will remember who stood by the people and who sold them out, and so will every single voter come Election Day. And when those people who decide to vote yes to this one big betrayal of a bill look back, I hope that they feel the weight of every single life that they chose to sacrifice for $1. Thank you.
It's like you've done this before.
Well, I mean, I do carpentry, so.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning. This bill is exactly as Angel said it is. It's huge. It's a betrayal. I like to use the word beguiling. There's propaganda in it. Big, beautiful bill, those words do not go together. What bill is both big and beautiful? There's contradictions in the bill. On the one hand, they validate the gutting of social services for the need of additional funding, saying our deficit, our debt is growing at a rate that's unsustainable. And yet, they find a way to spend billions of dollars on potentially unnecessary military products and projects. It's how can you validate the one and at the same time spend money on the other? It's not reducing deficit, it's reappropriating funds to what they want to fund while it leaves normal Americans behind. If this bill was to cause a recession, the first people to be bailed out would be businesses, would be banks, would be the ones that are already safe in their finances, and the ones that are left behind would feel the weight of it. This bill is wrong. They know it's wrong. They should vote against it, or at the very least, wait for more information to come out. Wait for the voters to be able to see it. I'm an educator. I wake up, I go to work, I do my job to the best of my ability. I don't have time to go through thousands of pages and hope that I can figure out what the long-term effects are going to be. Whenever my congressman goes up there, it doesn't matter who votes for him, he represents the constituents, everybody in their district. You can't just alienate half of them. That's the other issue with the bill. They're doing this as reconciliation so they can avoid having to have a 60-vote, filibuster in the Senate. Why? Because it's not for everybody. It's partisan. It's just another element of the division that separates us as a country. When will we stand united? They're not going to do it. We will, however, stand united against the bill because it is wrong. We know it to be wrong. Do better. Make a better bill. Break it out into its component parts so that we can see it and vote on it separately. Don't put everything under one house and try to cram it on through to make your life easier. Do the hard work, representatives. Do the hard work. Do it right. That's what we sent you there for, or we'll take you back. Thank you. Yeah. Sam, S-A-M, Gibbons, G-I-B-B-O-N-S. Liaison for 5051, Vice Chairman of Communications for the Reform Party, USA. Thank you.
It's me, Jay Belton, State Director for the South Carolina AFL-CIO. And I really behind what all my colleagues already said about this big, ugly bill. Let's just be for real. It's definitely an attack on the common folks and the working party and the working folks. It's really devastating reading the things that I read where we are more, you got to excuse my emotion on this. Our workers have been going through so much since President Trump have came into this office, and these bills that are only going to benefit corporate structures that even when they save money from these so-called tax benefits, most likely they're going to invest this money into automation. They're not going to invest this money into bringing in more workers. They're taking away the safety nets that the low-income workers are depending on every day, especially the ones that don't have unions to protect their jobs and protect the contracts that they have coming on to these jobs to make sure that they get an actual balanced pay. So we're going to push and motivate as many workers and their families across this state and across this nation to show Trump that he is not Pharaoh. Because obviously Trump thinks he's Pharaoh out of Exodus in the Bible, where he felt that the common folks were an attack against his political gain. So he started giving more harsher labor and killing off their families and their babies. And that's exactly what this bill is doing. It's trying to kill off the common folks. It's killing off especially these low-income workers, and we're not going to have it. We're not going to have it, and we're not going to run. So I stand in solidarity with all my colleagues here in Carolina for All, and we're going to do something about this.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. My name's Kevin McKinney. That's McKinney, if anybody's taking notes. I live out Camden Way, and I'm a member of Climate Reality, the Midlands chapter here, centered in Columbia, South Carolina. I want to take a little step back momentarily from the big, beautiful bill, as it's called, or as I prefer to say, the big, bad betrayal. And I want to talk about a little bit of history to start with. I imagine many of us here are old enough that if I say 1989, you immediately think Hurricane Hugo. And when that bad boy came to town, it killed 13 South Carolinians, cost $8 billion to the U.S. economy, with over $1 billion of that. That's just the timber losses here in South Carolina, not to mention all the residential destruction. Then again, if you're not old enough for that, maybe you remember 2015 when we had that flood complex, courtesy in part of Hurricane Joaquin. 19 South Carolina deaths, $2 billion in U.S. economic losses. South Carolina taking more than half of that. 500-year flooding in the Low Country. Boone Hall down in Mount Pleasant got 2 feet of rain in a very short period of time. Here in Columbia, Gills Creek went to 17 feet before it took out the flood gauge completely. And if you don't remember that, well, you're probably not here, but everybody remembers what happened last year when Helene came calling and killed 50 South Carolinians. There are $87 billion in U.S. losses in that little party. We were lucky here in South Carolina, and I put that in quotes. We only took $1.5 billion of that, but I know a lot of folks in the western part of the state may not have felt all that lucky. I guess the good part of all that hurricane history is that we've gotten pretty good at evacuations. I may not be the greatest fan of Governor McMaster or some of his predecessors, but they've done well at managing and coordinating hurricane evacuations in the past. But part of the reason that let them do that is they had good forecasts. They had ever better forecasts over time. But that's at risk with the big, beautiful bill or the big, bad betrayal, and it's at risk with associated measures that have already taken place. I'm going to say a little bit about that because I think that's important context for this bill as well. It started out with good old Doge, right? So they started cutting and slashing, and the result of that is they have cut back weather balloon flights very considerably. There are 11 locations affected. There are widespread staffing shortages with NOAA climate stations, especially along the Gulf Coast. And that first round terminated the flight directors of the 2 Hurricane Hunter aircraft and that whole program that we have. Now, I mentioned Hugo a moment ago. There's a Hunter aircraft that gave us a lot of information on that one. But that's not going to happen going forward. 2026 NOAA budget, 0 funding for that program. We will not have those aircraft flying into storms to let us know what's coming at us. And as for the weather balloons, well, they're one input into the system, but the more we degrade the inputs into those climate and weather forecasting models, the worse the results are going to be. The models may be fine, but garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't have the data, you don't have the data. There's also an additional Doge cut that's come in under that, which is the elimination of some of the data sharing from the Department of Defense. They have the best microwave weather satellite instruments flying. Those, at the end of this month, will cease being shared. We are not going to be able to look at night or through deep clouds into the hearts of these hurricanes. Once again, our capacity to understand them and to warn our people and get them the heck out of harm's way is at risk. And that's before we even get to the big bad betrayal, but I'm there now. Because if all this stuff is making us blind and deaf, or blinder and deafer anyway, with regard to hurricanes and other weather disasters, well, this budget is going to drastically slash what we're able to do anything about worsening them through climate change. Many of you will remember The Biden administration put in hundreds of billions of dollars of funding to upgrade and update our energy infrastructure. Well, the big bad betrayal takes square aim at all that. They're going to be able, it looks like, if this goes through, to get rid of about 5/8 of that funding, drastically impeding our ability to combat climate change. And South Carolina has a lot of skin in the climate change game. Just to mention a couple quick examples of that. Sea level rise. It's threatening our whole historic coast. Charleston has already spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to mitigate the problem down there. Our salt marshes, major source of tourism dollars, recreational dollars, they're at risk of changing to mangrove swamps over time. Peach production is at risk. We don't get enough chill hours for the varieties we have here anymore, and plus all this weather chaos makes it hard to count on anything if you're running an orchard. And finally, there are many more examples, but I'll just mention one, and that is that agriculture, forestry, and construction are all at risk of seriously degraded productivity because it's too damn hot for the workers. All right. So, a lot of skin in the game. But even if you don't agree with all of that, this stupid bill doesn't make any economic sense. Angel already addressed some of that, but it's very much true in the case of the energy and environmental impacts. And just a quick couple of examples of that before I head out. One analysis has found increasing energy bills across American households due to this bill, $170 billion over 10 years. How about America's job situation? Well, the same analysis found that we could lose 840,000 jobs by 2030 and almost that many by 2035. And it would shrink the U.S. GDP by 1.1 trillion. That's just the energy part. That's not the whole deal. Finally, they would decrease new energy capacity additions by 120 gigawatts, pardon me, 120 gigawatts by 2030. That's 120 Jenkinsvilles, more or less. 330 gigawatts by 2035. This is beyond dumb, folks. It's a terrible bill. It's a big, bad betrayal, especially considering that the alleged point of this was to save us money. It's going to do anything but. Now, if anybody wants any of the references and sources for repertorial purposes, I do have a copy here for you, or I can share the link to the document that I have. Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn over the podium.
Yep. Thank you, Kevin. I want to give y'all the opportunity to ask questions. I got one thing I want to share before that. I want to make sure everybody understands elections matter and who you vote for matter. It's so important that each time you take a vote, that you look at the character of the person you determine you're going to vote for. Make sure the next time we don't elect people that don't have morality, people that don't care about one another. So please, citizens of South Carolina and of this nation, look at the character of the people we're going to put in office to make sure that we don't come to a place like this again. We'll take questions. So if y'all have questions for us, let's go ahead. Oh, yeah. We do have one more speaker. I'm sorry. Come on up.
Sorry, I was in the background. My name is William Christopher, and today I represent the ARA, the Alliance for Retired Americans. And this is a sad, sad day. I was a reporter covering the State House and Congress for many years, and I don't recall any day like this, considering what's about to happen. On the subject of Medicaid, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that are being cut over the next 9 years that will affect so many millions of lives. You're talking about people that have worked their entire lives to support this economy and whose taxpayer money is going now to support the very people who are sitting in Washington and slashing their health care, decimating their health care, to the point that there will be people without it who've been dependent on it, not because they didn't work, but because some of them were working 2 and 3 jobs their entire lives and suddenly find themselves in a vulnerable position at the end of their lives and no place to go, nothing to do now. And you're talking about, like a friend of mine in the upstate who's actually a Republican and he voted for Trump. And in the last few days, he was saying he could not believe that this was going to hurt his business because he has quite a few employees. But he knows that more than half of them are on Medicaid. And he wonders what's going to happen when the support system is gutted and the families of those employees are going to suffer. And they're already working more than 1 job in the week. And they're going to have to go home and take care of their grandmother or a handicapped individual or someone who's facing challenges and has been dependent upon the social safety net that has been put in place for many decades in this country so that this very thing today would not happen. But it is happening. It's not happening because many hundreds of thousands of people over the years have supported it. It's happening because of one administration. There were so many holdouts to start with that those of us who didn't want this to happen were optimistic. I was a journalist, as I mentioned before this, and I was an exchange journalist in the European Union and under the German government. And I was so proud that I lived under the American Constitution because we knew that the kind of thing that happened in Germany would not happen in this country. But it looks like it's trying to happen. It certainly smells like it. Fortunately, we do have the Constitution. I'm not saying that this is Germany. It is not. The Constitution is still in place. But in order for it to have gotten this far, for this ridiculous, ugly thing to have gotten as far as it has, a lot of arms had to be bent. A lot of pressure was put on members of Congress, even Republicans, mostly Republicans, who were holdouts, who did not want to do this and knew that it was the wrong thing to do. But it ended up happening anyway, the same way that votes happened in Germany so many years ago. Tom Tillis, our North Carolina neighbor, the senator up there, he held out against Medicaid, did not support Medicaid expansion in that state for years, but he decided in the end that he wanted to do the right thing. And Tom Tillis was the one strong holdout against this massacre. And he said in the end, when he got a call from President Trump, "It's okay, I'm doing the right thing. I quit. And I'm so sorry that more of our illustrious lawmakers, whose salaries are being paid by the very people that they are cutting, do not have the gumption to do the right thing." But they will pay in the end, but unfortunately there will be many millions of people who depend upon Medicaid, who will be suffering in the process. The German government of the Third Reich happened because of a lockstep, and that's why the GOP got this passed, because they insisted that they operate in lockstep. This is going to close several hundred hospitals across the country that are dependent upon Medicaid. Like my friend, the Republican friend of the upstate said, it's going to gut this economy in the end in a way that we cannot imagine. There are going to be so many businesses that are affected by it, just from the Medicaid alone, just because so many people won't be able to continue their jobs as they have been doing. And it is such a disgrace that people that have worked their entire lives to support this economy are the ones who are going to be mostly affected. Thank you.
Good, good. Go ahead. We're going to give y'all an opportunity to ask questions. One thing I would mention, since we didn't have anybody address the ICE issue, this budget, big, beautiful bill, will give more money to ICE than they go give to SNAP. We'd rather turn this into a police state than feed our own kids. And be honest, as a society, we need to be responsible for every child that's born in this country. So I wanted to share that with you. Make sure you understand that that's who we are turning to in this country of ours. We got problems. So please, if y'all have questions, ask of any of us before we call an end to this.
Lawrence, just say spell your first and last name.
Okay, my name is Lawrence Moore. That's Lawrence. Moore is Moore, and I'm the director of Carolina for All.
Did you need me to do mine?
You did say yours at the beginning.
Okay, I didn't spell it or give my title or anything.
All right, I just looked you up from there. Yeah, you want to yell it out real quick.
Okay. Angel, Angel, Heaven, Heaven, Lee, Lee, and I'm the founder of South Carolina Disabled Dems. I'm the new elected chair for the South Carolina Democratic Party Disability Caucus.
Is there hyphen between Heaven and Lee?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
I have one.
Okay, please.
How will this bill affect rural areas in South Carolina? Because right now, even before this bill, a lot of rural towns didn't really have a hospital or any health care to go to, and I'm sure that our viewers would want to hear your answer.
From my experience and what I've found out about it, and did invite others to come speak on this particular topic. You know, one of the concerns is about the rural hospitals closing down in counties, rural counties, some of the more rural parts of the state. The problem is the Medicaid money supports the hospital. Without the Medicaid money, the people that do have insurance and want to utilize those hospitals won't be able to, because the structure and the facilities and what it takes to maintain that, the funds won't be there. If you're taking $1 trillion away from healthcare services, hundreds of thousands of people in the state of South Carolina will not have that service any longer. So that those resources will not be in the system any longer. So that's going to impact all the way down, as mentioned earlier, to the ambulance drivers. We won't need as many, because we don't have as many people with insurance coverage that will be able to pay for ambulance, EMS units. We won't need as many people in the hospitals working, because we won't need, because they won't be open, and they don't have the clients there that can sustain it. So it's crucial that we have service to those people in our community that need it. And that's been dependent on it for the last 60 years, 60-some years that Medicaid has been in effect. So it's crucial, all these. Another thing is, too, we have to realize that we already elected people to come up and speak on our behalf, and they're not here. So understand that, too, as a South Carolinian. Democrats and Republicans are not here to talk about this big, beautiful bill. The people that's going to be impacted, we are here. Because we got family members that are impacted. We may be impacted ourselves. So we have to stand. But we got to get a democracy that's going to represent us, or we don't have anything. Any questions? Or do anybody else have anything they want to share?
For a moment to the rural question. Just very briefly, a lot of the impacts of climate change on our state are going to be felt in rural areas. I mentioned that agriculture, construction, and forestry is a big one out where I live, out north of Camden, are all experiencing already declines in labor productivity because people have to get relief from the heat. They can't work as late, et cetera, et cetera. According to the National Academy of Sciences, that would That's expected to end up in the neighborhood of a 10% drop, which is pretty substantial. Forget the timeline, maybe it's 2050, but don't take that to the bank. So what that means is that those rural economies are going to be bringing in less dollars because that labor is less productive. Add to that the fact that the Big Beautiful Bill is hitting our labor force, especially in exactly those kinds of industries. So this is not going to be good for rural South Carolina.
No, it's fine. I can speak up if y'all want. So rural hospitals already operate on razor-thin margins, and many of them rely on Medicaid reimbursements to keep their doors open. When you gut programs like Medicaid, like this bill does, you're putting directly in line the rural hospitals at risk of closure. This means that people in small towns here in South Carolina and other places are going to have to drive hours just to see a doctor, or worse, can't get emergency care in time. It also slashes SNAP, which we've already addressed, which hurts the local grocery stores, our farmers, and small businesses that rely on customers spending those benefits there. Rural economies are really fragile, and this bill pulls the rug right out from under them. So the bottom line is you get fewer hospitals, less food security, lost local jobs, and more poverty.
Say a little bit about SNAP, what you was talking about. Food security is a big issue because it's not only going to affect people who need to eat and farmers and businesses too. For all those out there concerned about the business world, it's going to cut $40 million in upcoming years from the money that would go to support food stores. You're talking about 16 million children, 8 million seniors, and 4 million people with disabilities that are going to be affected by this.
I also want to mention, in Florida, they built Alligator Alcatraz. Now that took them about 8 days. 8 days, just a little over a week, to create a massive concentration camp, we'll call it what it is. So remember this, the next time those in power want to claim that they can't house the homeless or feed the children or other people in the communities that are starving or provide medical care to poor. They can, they just don't want to. And it's flooding.
All right, again, thank you for being here. Not hearing any questions, going to say thank you, and y'all have a great day. Yeah. And thank everybody for taking part. Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah.
Good job, everybody. Good job, man.